My friends, my extended family, welcome to another episode of the Anxiety Guy podcast. It's great to have you here with me. On this podcast episode, I'm going to reveal to you what your higher self really is and some of the characteristics that come with your higher self along this healing journey over anxiety. Before I go there, I want to remind you that the Health Anxiety Program is now available at theanxietyguy.com. You commit 12 weeks, you get healed from health anxiety at theanxietyguy.com. I believe in this program more than anything. I've heard it, I've tested it, I've tried it, and I can tell you one thing: if you're suffering from health anxiety, go for it. And my friends, your higher self versus your inner child. Now, let's first get something out of the way. And that is that if you're in the depths, in the darkness of an anxiety disorder, it's very difficult to tap into your higher self because there's just so much doubt because you are living in survival mode. Okay? When you suffer from anxiety, more often than not, it's not just one kind of anxiety, right? And to tell you the truth, we should actually replace the word anxiety with the word terror so that people that don't go through anxiety understand what it's really like to go through anxiety. It's terror-filled. I mean, you can be invited to a social gathering and off you go down the rabbit hole, thinking about all the ways that you're going to make a fool out of yourself, thinking about all the symptoms that are going to show up, thinking about all the things you're going to do wrong, yada, yada, yada. I mean, anxiety finds more anxiety, okay? So, with that said, we need to understand that it's very difficult to tap into your higher self when you're in the depths of anxiety. However, when you start to, for example, commit to one of my programs, or you find that you're starting to put the pieces together, you find that you're starting to reframe your past, you find that you're starting to respond to a fearful moment in the present better and differently, then your higher self starts to arise more often. Now, I want you to be able to differentiate between your higher self and your inner child as you're going through the day. So I'm going to give you an exercise towards the end of this podcast episode that I want you to really commit to for the next few days and notice how it changes your life. But first, your higher self feels like it's new information, whereas your inner child feels like it's familiar information. Okay? So, information that comes to you in terms of a perception, an idea, a feeling, an act, a behavior that you want to enact, a new form of imagination about something, the higher self feels like new information. Okay? Whereas the inner child feels like familiar information. Your higher self speaks to you in a very subtle manner, whereas your inner child screams to you, okay? And that screaming is most certainly connected to an old, fearful program, and it's very much connected to keeping you in survival mode, making sure that you do place threatening interpretations over everything external and internal, so that you stand on guard for any potential threat that may arise, right? So when you're going through the day and you find that you feel something, right, you can tell right away whether that's an inner child feeling or if it's a higher self feeling. Inner peace feels very subtle, at first at least. Inner child fear, anger, doubt, sadness, you name it, feels like it's just screaming at you, right? Higher self feels freeing but risky, okay? Inner child feels contained and certain. So there's a certain amount of certainty within inner child living. If we live through the interpretations of the inner child, we live in a safe place. We live in a familiar place. We live in a place that's connected to a parent, an authority figure, and that makes us feel safe to some extent. It makes us feel connected. We feel like we love them and they love us if in fact we have mirrored their characteristics. But at the same time, I want you to understand that when you live by the rules, the values, the guidelines of your higher self, it feels freeing, but at the same time, it feels risky. It feels like you're going to lose something. It feels like you're going to make a mistake. It feels like you have to take a leap of faith, and not everybody will be there to support you. Okay? This is that critical moment in a person's life. This is the critical moment within an anxiety sufferer's life where they have to look within themselves and say, am I happy with the results that I'm getting in my life? If the answer truly is yes, then I commend you. You're already living by your higher self. If the answer is no, and you feel contained, and you feel deep down that there's more to life, right? Life cannot possibly be this fearful. Life cannot possibly be this contained, right? Then you have to ask yourself, is there another form of guidance that I'm not listening to? Okay? This form of guidance by your higher self is subtle at first. Okay? It feels new. It feels freeing but risky. And this is why the exercise that I want you to commit to in the next few days is so, so important. I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to draw a line in the middle of that piece of paper. And at the top, on one side, I want you to put the words higher self. And on the other side, I want you to put the words inner child. Now, I want you to ask yourself questions, but not only questions, I want you to go ahead and notice what sort of perspectives one takes compared to the other when you're faced with a situation. Okay? So, for example, I'm about to go for a walk. As I go for my walk, okay, what does my higher self think about this walk? Well, my higher self thinks that it's an opportunity to reconnect with myself. It's an opportunity for me to get fresh air. It's an opportunity for me to connect with the world and other people. It's an opportunity for me to slow things down. That's what my higher self thinks. But there's also a perspective from the inner child. Now, what does the inner child think about this walk? Well, number one, the inner child reminds me right away that you've never walked this long, right? Something may go wrong. What if you walk too far from your house and you have a panic attack or a health anxiety attack, and all of a sudden you can't get back and there's no one to help you? Inner child perspective, right? Inner child says, oh, you're going for a walk. What if your heart rate gets too high? What if things get dizzy? What if these symptoms creep up out of nowhere? What if there's no one to help you? So notice that both are true. Okay, this is very, very important. They're both true. You get to choose which one of these perspectives are true for you before you go for the walk. You're going for a drive. You're going to write down on that piece of paper, on the left side, higher self. What does the higher self think about this drive I'm about to go on? And what does the inner child think about this drive I'm about to go on? Okay? Even about anxiety symptoms. Your higher self may think about the anxiety symptoms as, bless these symptoms for looking to protect me. Bless these symptoms for looking to keep me within a comfort zone that's been familiar in my life. Bless these symptoms for being there for me but they're no longer needed. This is all higher self perspective. You can see how healing can be supercharged when we are guided by the higher self. But then there's the inner child. Oh God, there's that symptom again. Is this the big one? Is this the one that's going to get me? Right? Is this the one that's going to take me down mental craziness or physical bodily loss? Loss of control, loss of certainty, loss of my life? Okay? So there are two different perspectives, no matter what's going on in the past, present, or future. As you're going the next couple days, I want you to begin writing down in any given situation that speaks to you the perspective of your higher self and the perspective of your inner child when it comes to that situation. Because as you're going through the day, as this becomes more automatic, you're going to be able to move from one state to another very, very quickly. And isn't that our goal? Our goal is to allow sadness to be there, but not to be consumed by it. Our goal is to allow anxiousness to be there, but not to be consumed by it. Anger, doubt, you name it. Okay? These things are normal, involuntary bodily reactions, okay, to a situation that is being perceived. There are so many filters in the brain that you go through before your conscious mind is even aware of an interpretation about something, right? Your unconscious has made that decision far before the conscious mind ever has. Now, when this information gets to the conscious mind, you have a choice. You can either follow the left row or the right row. You can follow the higher self's perspective or the inner child's perspective. I want you to master this, okay? Don't hope it works, okay? Because hope simply doesn't work. Don't try this, okay? Hope, try. Don't add any buts like I've never done this before, right? Don't go there. Don't allow yourself to go there anymore, okay? Because you know what it's like there, don't you? You know what it's like there. Yes, it's a familiar place, and yes, you've attached your identity to those words and being doubtful and such, but starting today, just don't allow yourself to go there anymore, okay? Whatever you are intuitively guided towards to heal you on this healing journey, put your heart into it. Put your total heart into it, no matter what anybody says, no matter how foreign it is to society, it doesn't matter. What matters is if your higher self feels like this is the right thing to do for you, you follow it with all your heart. One of the other things you need to understand about your higher self is your higher self likes to simplify things, whereas your inner child likes to make things complicated. You notice? Right? Or I bet you're nodding your head right now like, yep. My inner child likes to overcomplicate things, likes to keep me overthinking. And again, where does that lead? It leads to a place of living through this life in the mode of survival. Right? So all of these creative ways the inner child pulls you back in to a familiar place is so that you can live in survival again. When you live in survival, you cannot create. Okay, when you live in survival, you cannot have a perspective because you're being guided by the inner child's perspective. It's automatic. And most people in the world today are living life in a zombie consciousness. Okay, they're not thinking. They think they're thinking when in fact they're just remembering what they thought about yesterday and replaying those things. Thinking is different. Thinking is a higher self act. Okay? So I really hope this podcast speaks to you. I really hope that, I don't want to use that word, I know that you'll commit to this exercise and notice one perspective compared to the next perspective, and just play with this, please, right? There are way too many people out there that, don't do it perfectly or feel like they're making a mistake, so they stop doing it. Okay, don't go there. Right? Put all that aside. That's all inner child stuff. Okay, we're moving towards higher self stuff. Higher self allows you to make mistakes. Higher self is imperfect and still perfect in that imperfection. Okay, so soon, I hope that you will start to live through your higher self's perspective. You understand what's going on here, right? You're no longer led by the past, but you're led by a future that you are now starting to create. That is living by your higher self. And when this happens, you have created a brand new identity, brand new core beliefs, and it starts to trickle down. Okay? So, get to know your higher self better in the next few days. Notice that your inner child has been running your life for the last however many years, and start to differentiate between these two perspectives. I promise you, it will change your life, because your life deserves change. Warrior, remember that you are more than anxiety. Do you know somebody out there who's suffering? Please go ahead and share this podcast with them or a group. And if you want to get up to speed with everything that I've been going through, the struggles that I've been going through recently, head over to YouTube and check out my latest video, and you'll be up to speed. I love you all for all your comments and all your engagement. Head over to theanxietyguy.com today to learn more about any of my programs and start your healing today. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
The most powerful anxiety guidebooks on true anxiety recovery are now available on Amazon. Pick up Beyond Anxiety and F Coping, Start Healing, and supercharge your healing journey today. Also visit www.theanxietyguy.com to connect with Dennis and find the right online program for you. Remember, you are more than anxiety. See you in the next podcast episode.